Welcome back, everyone, to Watcher of All Things. My name is Kiki, and this is my podcast where I talk movies, TV shows, and all things entertainment. And today is another big one. It is episode 21, where we will be talking the new Netflix romantic comedy Hitman assassin movie. Well, I've already said the title. It's Hitman with Glenn Powell, the newest star boy everyone seems to love, including myself, to be honest. He's a rising star that I'm very happy to be on our screens. First time I ever saw him was in Spy Kids 3D Game Over, so strange to see him all grown up and making everyone proud, and actually in The Dark Knight Rises when he gets beat up by Bane. But I hope you are having a fantastic week. I am getting ready for my weekend where it's my girlfriend's birthday, and I'm going to be surprising her with Chapel Roan tickets for August, which is really fun, so I'm excited for that. Yeah, it's going to be a really great weekend, and we're in June now. We're in the heat months. All these great movies are going to be coming out, and apparently no money's being made at the box office, which is just crazy to me. Like, I think Challengers just hit 96 million yesterday, like globally. So we're in dark times, folks. So it's time to start rationing out our films, I guess. Yeah, thank you all for the absolutely great messages about the X-Men episode last week. That was really great. If you haven't listened to it, highly encourage you do. It's fun. It's a light discussion about X-Men. And I know it seems like, oh, like who's watching like X-Men? It's a super random thing I wouldn't watch ever in my life. I promise, if you give the cartoon a chance on Disney Plus, you will love it, and then you'll want to watch all the movies, and the movies are fun for the most part. I didn't have rave reviews for all of them, but there are some good ones in there that you can enjoy, so I highly recommend that. And I've just recently joined the X-Men subreddits, which are cool, and I'm looking for books to read about them. Speaking of books, I will get into what I finished reading this weekend as well, but yada yada yada. Before we're yapping on, first we got some news to talk, because believe it or not, Rian Johnson was not done. But before we get to that, we have some other stories. So let's get into it. Let's get into the news. If you will recall, I believe last year, Transformers Rise of the Beasts, a movie I did not see, because as much as I loved Bumblebee, I was going to see it, and I remember something came up and I couldn't go see it, and I just haven't gotten to watching it on streaming yet, even though for the most part I like Transformers. I like not all of the Michael Bay ones, as most people don't. Apparently at the end of that movie, there is a big lead up post-credit scene type thing where it's the end of the movie that it's actually a G.I Joe tie-in. Like, the movie ends with a G.I Joe tie-in. So Variety reported this week, and this comes on the back of the fact that they've reported they want to do a G.I Joe Transformers crossover movie. Well, Variety said this week that Chris Hemsworth, who is Thor, Dementis, and Furiosa, really great actor. I'm actually happy he's getting all of this action now, because I think he seems to be a very solid human being, but also I just really like him as an actor as well. Apparently he is in talks to star in the Transformers and G.I Joe crossover movie. Like I said, there was that big teaser at the end of last year's Transformers Rise of the Beast, and it was officially confirmed at CinemaCon, which was in the new year, I want to say, by Paramount, that there would be a crossover movie. So it's looking like Chris Hemsworth is apparently going to be playing a G.I Joe, and it's funny because he's already currently playing Optimus Prime in the new Transformers 1 movie that's coming out on September 20th, I believe. Yes, September 20th it says here. And this new film is apparently going to be produced by Lorenzo di Bonaventura and Mark Varahandium and Michael Bay, who did all the previous ones. Interesting, we're getting a crossover. I don't think there's ever been a G.I. Joe Transformers crossover that I know of, but I think that could be like a really fun kids movie, which I think we need like more good quality kids movies that, like, I think Spider-Verse is a great children's movie that adults as well will fall in love with. I don't think it's insulting to say that it is a kid's movie. I think it's more a movie that you can take your kids to enjoy, and it's also something that's very enjoyable for adults. So that's cool news. I hope it is good, as I hope all movies are good. Nobody wants a bad movie, but Chris Hemsworth, I think, is a good choice. He knows action movies very well, and I think a G.I. Joe Transformers movie could just be a fun little geek fest, But anyways, in other news, it has been reported. So they're making this Office spinoff, a spinoff of The American Office. It's said to be in like the same universe as the Office TV show, but it hasn't been said if like old characters are going to show up. Well, it has officially got its title. It will be known as The Paper. So the show is going to star Domhnall Gleeson, who is in Star Wars, About Time, and lots of other things. He's a very, very popular actor. And Sabrina Impacciatore, who, if you don't know, was in The White Lotus Season 2. And it actually is being reported that this new mockumentary will be a standalone production with no involvement of characters from the original series. The documentary crew that immortalized Dunder Mifflin's Scranton branch is in search of a new subject when they discover a dying historic Midwestern newspaper and the publisher trying to revive it with volunteer reporters. Let me preface this by saying I'm such a huge fan of The Office. It's one of my favorite TV shows. Really great. I've watched it through probably 10 to 12 times. I would say since grade 10 I've watched it at least once a year because it's just such a great show to rewatch apart from the last 2 seasons. But I'm kind of on the fence about this one. I don't know if we need a story involving the documentary crew that did the Dunder Mifflin documentary. Like, does it really matter? Or I feel like that's kind of just a marketing way to get people to watch the show in the first place because they were living with that hope of seeing stuff from The Office that they at least recognize. Like, you could just make a new show and say from the creators of and be like, oh, here's another TV show by the guys who made The Office, Greg Daniels, called The Paper. I don't feel like you really need to involve the documentary crew as characters, which for me was some of the worst parts of The Office. In season 9, I believe, they started actually talking with the documentary crew. Yeah, it was in the last season because Jim is in Philadelphia. I hated that. That was my least favorite stuff. That whole last season is just terrible to me with, the Dwight, the Schrute Farm spinoff and stuff like that. So I don't know how I feel about this, but the cast is what has me excited, that they have the manager from The White Lotus Season 2 in Italy, and Domhnall Gleeson, who I find very funny and cool. About Time is one of my favorite rom-coms, hands down it is. So that interests me. So that's why I'm very on the fence, because I feel like, is there more story to tell? Whereas the subject matter is interesting, that it's like a Midwestern historian paper company, or newspaper rather, and I think it's just going to be on Peacock. So I don't even know how you get Peacock in Canada. I don't know where to find stuff. So it looks like the show is starting to come together. I feel like we only really got the first piece of news about this new show in, I want to say, the new year, 2024, January 2024, and it's just been picking up steam since then. So I mean, it's interesting. Obviously I'm gonna watch it when I find it on whatever it's gonna be streaming on in Canada, because we don't have Peacock. Like I said, I'll give it a chance. I'm not gonna go in just hating it because it's, oh, they're tarnishing the reputation of one of my favorite shows. Whatever, you got to keep an open mind when you go in to watch things apart from Madam Web. So that will be my mindset. I will keep an open mind. But something that is going to be difficult to have an open mind going with: Sony, fool me once, shame on me. No, how does it go? Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We have the Venom Last Dance trailer. I don't know, are there Venom fans out there? I feel like they actually have a very popular following online, because when I looked in the comments of the new Venom The Last Dance trailer, which came out, I don't know, some people were like, oh, I can't wait. And I saw the first one. I think I saw the second one. That has Carnage, right? Yeah, with Woody Harrelson. I'm pretty sure I saw that. And it was directed by Andy Serkis. I saw the first ones in theaters, and it wasn't the worst thing I ever watched. It's kind of fun. And you can see Tom Hardy just really losing himself in the role of Eddie Brock and Venom, and he's doing a goofy voice, and he gets to act by just talking to himself in every scene. This one looks interesting. It looks very weird CGI wise. It's basically, I think the premise is that Venom's home world, the symbiote, however you say it, it's said differently in every form of media and almost in every movie as well. Someone says it 2 different ways, so don't argue with me. So I think the symbiote world is coming. See, I swear, I just said it. What did I say before? I don't remember. When I edit, I'll have to listen. The symbiote world is coming to Earth to hunt down Venom, and it looks interesting. Sony has given me trust issues. I've had a few bad relationships with Sony. We've had Madam Web, we've had Morbius, and I'm having a tough time rekindling this love with Sony. And they just this week said that they're going to start using AI in films, very influentially and very often, to which Phil Lord and Chris Miller of the Spider-Verse movie said, nuh-uh, we are not in the Spider-Verse third movie. whenever that comes out. So look, back to Venom: The Last Dance. It looks fine. The thing about all of these trailers for these Venom movies is all three of them, the trailers look like something that could be excited. And then you watch the movies and they're like, okay, I guess. Like, it was fine. It was fun. But, not everything needs to be a Best Picture nominee. Sometimes you just want to watch a movie and have a fun night watching a movie. You know what I mean? So I'll definitely watch it. I think it comes out later this year, but not the best trailer I've ever seen in my life, but it looks like there is some fun, goofy things that Tom Hardy's doing. I'm happy for him. He's getting to just do these goofy projects that he really enjoys doing. Now, going on to a trailer I did go nuts for, Alien Romulus. I'm not really a huge fan of the Alien movies. I haven't seen them all. I think I've seen the first and second one, and I really like those. So definitely there will be a watch back on August 15th. Not 15th, because Alien Romulus comes out the 16th, the 11th or 10th, whatever the Monday is before Alien Romulus. For sure, I'm going to watch all of the movies. We'll do an episode about it, talk about it. But anyways, Alien Romulus, the trailer has come out. I saw the first teaser trailer, was absolutely hyped. Debated not watching this trailer. I was like, do I want to go in blind? But I was like, I'm just so curious. I want to see. And I gotta say, it looks awesome. It's very much, it's a very horror movie. They're not trying to do an action movie like I think some of the others have been, maybe Alien Covenant and was Prometheus an alien movie? Alien, like Prometheus? Is that a thing? But I like it. It has Fede Alvarez is the director who I believe did the new Evil Dead movie, and people are a big fan of him. And I have really only seen really positive reactions to this online. He did Evil Dead, Don't Breathe, The Girl in the Spider's Web, Don't Breathe 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he's done some really cool foreign language films. And yeah, it looks very scary. The lighting and production value looks amazing. Like the lighting really reminds me of the originals, but just using different cameras. Looks cool. And the cast as well, I'm very into. Kaylee Speeney, who I've been championing all year for some reason. Even just today, one of my friends was like, oh, you know who favorite actress is right now? And I was like, oh yeah, I actually haven't thought about who's like one of my favorite actresses right now, because mine was the same as hers. But I was like, oh, you know who I also like? Kaylee Speeney. She was Priscilla last year, and I thought she was so outstanding in that movie. And then she was in Civil War, where I thought she was really good as well. And then after last week, when she was announced in the Knives Out cast, I was like, fascinating. Her different roles she's taking, really cool, like biopic, action, political movie. Alien Romulus as well, like a horror sci-fi. She's doing a little bit of everything, which I absolutely love. It also has Isabella Merced, I think is how you say her last name. She was in Dora. She was in Madam Web, Instant Family. She's in the new Hank Green, Turtles All the Way Down movie. She was in Transformers: The Last Night. So a few stinkers in there, but she's also in the new Superman movie. So I trust James Gunn. Yeah, it looks really scary. It comes out August 16th, so another summer blockbuster. I'm looking forward to that very much. As I said, definitely a watch back in our future, folks. And in another sci-fi film, Ryan Gosling's sci-fi movie, Project Hail Mary, has begun filming. So Phil Lord and Chris Miller are doing a new story called Project Hail Mary. So Ryan Gosling's upcoming sci-fi movie, Project Hail Mary, has begun filming, with co-director Christopher Miller posting a behind-the-scenes image of production starting. Based on a novel by Andy Weir, who also wrote The Martian, a movie I very much liked, the movie stars Ryan Gosling as Ryland Grace, an amnesiac astronaut in the deep reaches of space, trying to find a way to save humanity from an approaching disaster. It also stars Sandra Hüller from Anatomy of a Fall and Zone of Interest. So very interesting choice. Is she going to be like a villain? I mean, or is she going to be a comedic role? I would actually love to see her in a comedic role, because she has that really great German dry sense of humor. No offense to any Germans. I think they can be funny, but her two latest roles have literally been a person suspected of murder of their husband and a Nazi's wife. So, forgive me for not thinking she's taking on the hero's role, but that looks really cool. I love Phil Lord and Chris Miller. I think they do really funny stuff. The After Party, the Spider-Verse movies, of course, the Lego movie, lots of good stuff. They have a very good track record, and I think they will make a very interesting, it's funny, it's a sci-fi, but they bring great comedy to everything they do. So very much looking forward to that whenever that comes out, especially Ryan Gosling is the lead. Hell yeah, I'm totally in. And the final piece of news, well, last week I begged Rian Johnson to stop casting people for Knives Out 3 because it's too much to keep up with. He did not listen. He didn't hear this apparently because he's added 2 more heavy hitters this week for Knives Out 3 Wake Up Dead Man. He has added Josh Brolin, who's Thanos, Cable, Gurney Halleck, great actor, Llewellyn Moss from No Country for Old Men. He has been added to the cast. Thomas Hayden Church, also known as Sandman from Spider-Man 3. To me at least, I know he's in other things, it's just that I don't know what. He has been added. Oh, We Bought a Zoo. Thomas Hayden Church, he's in We Bought a Zoo. There. What a cast. So who do we have in this? We have like Kaylee Speeney, Mila Kunis, Josh O'Connor. It's too many people. It's too Andrew Scott. I mean, Josh Brolin and Thomas Hayden Church now. It's too many people. I can't even remember everyone. There's one person from Peaky Blinders that I can't remember, but this is really coming together, and I understand. I originally was like, oh, I kind of wish they just dropped all of the cast at once because it would just like make it easier to follow, but it's kind of fun that they're teasing it out like one person at a time, kinda. And the official Twitter account for the movie is retweeting all of these stories as well, so it's not like speculation. Like, this is all solid, like who the cast is. So really cool. I like how they're drawing this out over like a week and a half that they've been doing this. Yeah, since like last Sunday or whatever, 2 weeks now. A really solid cast as well. Like, I think this is a really good cast of dramatic actors that can also do funny roles, which is what you need in a Knives Out movie. So I'm seriously looking forward to it now. I think it could be a hit, and I think if it's stronger than Glass Onion, which was already an pretty okay movie, like good for the most part, it was funny, but it's not something you want to rewatch. If it's more in tune with the first Knives Out movie, hell yeah, I'm gonna be down, because that movie was hilarious, and like I said last week, just very timeless comedy, like comedy that you can just watch over and over again, because it's not the talking points that are funny, it's more the characters and how they're saying them and acting that I enjoy. So let's go, Rian Johnson. I'm cheering you on from the sidelines. And that is it for the news this week. As always, there is timestamps below if you want to avoid spoilers for Hitman. It's on Netflix now. It was put on Netflix Friday, June 7th. So if you haven't been able to watch it, it's a really quick watch. Highly recommend you do. So pause this here or skip ahead to what else I watched, because I have stuff to talk about there as well, including a video game and a book that I'm going to talk about. So lots to talk about in that section as well. Or you can just listen to the non-spoiler section and then skip after that. Whatever you want. It's your choice. But let's get into it. Hitman. Hitman is technically a 2023 movie, but I'm going to say 2024 because it was only doing festivals in 2023. So I'm counting it officially on all of my lists, on everything, as a 2024 comedy action movie. It's an hour and 55 minutes. Not even a 2-hour movie. It's super breezy watch. Why not check it out? It currently has 97% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 95% audience score. It has 83% on Metacritic. It is rocking the reviews, very critically acclaimed right now. Google's in a nutshell, fun, thrilling, and unpredictable, which is I don't know. It's true, actually. I didn't know where it was going in the end. So, all right, I'll give you that, Google. It was technically released in theaters, at least in Canada and the US, on May 24th. So it's done a 2-week theatrical run, and now it's on Netflix for all Netflix users to watch. I hope we get a physical copy of like DVD, Blu-ray, 4K release, because I would totally get it. It is directed by Richard Linklater, who's done, look, he's a heavy hitter. He did like the Sunrise trilogy. He did School of Rock, which is one of my favorite movies. He did Boyhood, which if you haven't seen is a mesmerizing film. He filmed it over 12 years. I had to watch it for a film class at school. I absolutely loved it. The budget was $8.8 million, which is so awesome. I love that. I love how small the budget is. It's a fun little action romance comedy. I mean, it says comedy action on Google, but I would actually say it's a rom-com. It is very much a rom-com for me. The synopsis is, a professor moonlighting as a hitman of sorts for his city police department descends into dangerous, dubious territory when he finds himself attracted to a woman who enlists his services. So, as I said in the introduction, it stars our boy Glenn Powell, Texas's finest, who is going to be the future star of Twisters later this summer. He's Hangman in Top Gun Maverick. He's Finance Bro in The Dark Knight Rises. He's that other kid in Spy Kids 3D. He's in tons of stuff. It also has Adria Arjona, who is Madison Masters in this film. It has Rita from Parks and Rec as a police officer, Austin Emilio as Jasper, Molly Bernard as Alicia, Kaga Jason as Nick Johnson, Mike Markoff as Craig. And yeah, a really solid cast. I really like everybody in this. Yeah, I just love how small the budget was on this. I'm still blown away. It's $8.8 million. I think that's fantastic. So let's get into non-spoilers. Of course, I'm going to start with non-spoilers as always. This is a very fun romantic comedy and the exact kind of movie that needs to be made right now. I think a little more crowd pleasers and less tie-in universes. It's a really fun, low budget, fun premise. The premise is amazing. It's based on a true story of this guy that was a college professor and would also do undercover work for the police. But it's just adding to a great plethora of choices of films we have right now. We have the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movies. You have Furiosa. You have Hitman. I mean, there's still so many great movies from like this year in general that people haven't seen, whether it be Challengers, Dune Part 2, Love Lies Bleeding, The Fall Guy. There's so many great movies that we've already had this year, like really, really solid movies. I know we're not hitting maybe the heights of last year, apart from Dune Part 2 and Challengers and Furiosa for me. I still think there's a great choice of movies, and Hitman is really continuing that, because this is something that I'm going to watch it again because it was very fun. I told my parents I think they're really gonna love it. They hadn't watched it yet. My friend and I saw it in theaters. It got a lot of laughs, played really well with the crowd. It was just really fun. So yeah, like I said, I had the 2-week theatrical run, which I think was great. So let's start with the cast. I've already gushed about him enough, kind of embarrassingly, but Glenn Powell, I think he is absolutely perfect in this role. I don't know who else would. Oh, the only other person I see playing this role is Ryan Gosling, in all honesty, but I think Glenn Powell is so perfect as this. He's so funny, and he drives this movie so well. He plays Gary Johnson, who's this, mundane loser, but he just nails all the disguises that are in all the posters as the hitman. So it's so fun seeing him just being able to goof around in all these different disguises. It's just such a kind of lighthearted. I really do like how low the stakes are kind of in this film. I mean, there is still a threat in the story, but it's not a world-ending apocalyptic, sometimes I don't need an end of the world movie. I just want something that affects like 4 people, you know what I mean? So it's a funny, lighthearted movie, and I think Glenn Powell just plays this guy that's losing himself in one of his roles so well. It's got a great fake life versus real life story, which I really love movies with that, and I think he does phenomenally well in this movie. And they kind of do the reverse of like, oh, take her glasses off and turns out she's really pretty. They do that to Glenn Powell in this movie, and maybe it's a commentary on that the fact that he is clearly this extremely attractive man with a great physique, and he's just wearing glasses and has a kind of bad haircut, and we're supposed to believe he's unattractive or like goes in the background. And he actually plays the professor that he is very well in this movie. Like, he seems like a very likable, intelligent professor. Adria Arjona is very good as Madison. Like, I really like that she has some agency in this story. Like, she affects the story as well. She's not a damsel in distress. She's not just eye candy. She actually has some very funny moments in it as well, which I really enjoyed. And she has some good dramatic moments. And her and Glenn Powell, great chemistry. That's what I really enjoyed in it. But yeah, she's very good in this, and I like the role she's given. I think she plays it very well. I don't know what else I've seen her in. I really only know her from this movie, I think, but look, she's really great in it. And their chemistry is just like some of the best chemistry I've seen so far this year. I don't know. It's been a good year for chemistry. I'll say that, actually. Dune Part 2, Challengers, Love Lies Bleeding. I thought Katie O'Brien and Kristen Stewart had such phenomenal chemistry in that film. So we are getting good chemistry this year. Just every scene they have together, it's so electric, and there's kind of this natural attraction between the two of them from the first scene they have, which is shown in the trailer when they meet each other, that he's playing this kind of cool hunk, and then it's kind of just a more confident version of himself, which I really liked. But I won't give anything away to the story. That's all shown in the trailer, so The supporting cast, Rita is hilarious as Claudette. I absolutely loved her on every year on Parks and Rec, which is another really great Greg Daniels show that I love. Rita is very funny in this as well as Sanjay Rao as Phil, and especially Austin Emilio as Jasper. Jasper's a very funny character. He plays kind of this more shady undercover hitman, or it's an undercover cop, and basically their job is they put out fake ads for hitmen, and then they go and meet people that want to hire hitmen, and they arrest them for attempted murder. It's shown in the trailer, but it's a great premise because it's like a very interesting job that they have, and Gary has to go in and be the fake hitman one day, but then he starts kind of losing his roles, and he's a psychology professor, so he starts studying all of his roles, and he studies the people that he's doing the hits for, and he's very naturally good at it. It's just I think it's a really clever script, and they found a very interesting story to adapt for this movie, which I really liked. I think this is a very fun premise, and it never feels like the premise is getting old on you. Like, sometimes you go into a movie that has a really fun premise, and with 40 minutes left in the movie, you find yourself just kind of not caring anymore. Like, that was me for Cocaine Bear. I thought that premise was just very funny going into it, but then it kind of runs out of steam, and the bear is hardly in it. Or like a Ricky Stenicki, where, I don't know, it's like, oh, John Cena's playing like this fake actor that's kind of messing with their lives. And then by the end of it, I was kind of like, okay, we're kind of just spinning our wheels, but like The Fall Guy and Hitman both have great premises that kind of just continue to be great throughout the film. And I think the premise of this movie, the fact that it's coming from such an interesting true story, which you can find the article online about the real Gary Johnson. It's a very interesting read. But yeah, the supporting cast play their roles very well. And like I said, the Jasper character is very funny as this other cop that's trying to get his main position back after Gary Johnson fills in for him. And the movie itself is super sexy. Like, it is a very erotic, sexy film with Gary Johnson and Madison. They're both these extremely attractive people falling in love, and it's a very romantic movie. Like, it's great. It's like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It is a very sexy film, and it's done very tastefully. But it was pretty funny. My friend to the right of me, a father to the right of him, and then to the right of the father was their daughter, who looked about 9 to 10 years old, and I was like, oh my god, like, there is some extremely steamy scenes, like they're taking a bath together, which is like the Letterboxd heading. I saw them covering the daughter's eyes. I was like, yeah, probably a good choice. Who cares? They're not recording it and taking it to school or whatever. And I've already touched on it a bit, but I think the fact that, and this goes into how much I love the script of this film, there's a lot of juxtapositions with him giving lectures in his psychology class. Then you kind of see how those play out throughout the film, and that's all I'll say. That's not giving anything away, because I think in the trailer he's giving a lecture, and it's just, I really think that's such a great basis for this script. Like, a good solid foundation is, okay, what is Gary good at? Okay, he's good at with psychology, reading people and learning about other people's behaviors and adapting his behavior based on that. And you can study as many books as you want, but then when he finally meets someone and he finds himself losing himself in the role, then it's hard to know what the expert move is. So it is very interesting how his role as a psychology professor plays out throughout the film, because it is very much a part of this story. And it's also just funny that he's doing all this hitman stuff outside of being a college professor. Like, he's moonlighting as a undercover cop, essentially, when he was originally just a tech dude, but then they asked him to cover one day as a hitman, as they showed in the trailer. So really interesting. I think it's just such a great sounding board, those two kind of different comparisons and the very tight juxtapositions of I gotta stop saying that word. It kind of loses meanings when loses meaning. When you say something over and over and then it just loses meaning? That's how I feel about juxtaposition. But no, just really love the psychology hitman aspect. And what I really liked about this movie is it's kind of an easy watch. It is a very tame movie. Like I said, I don't need an end of the world apocalypse movie every time I go to the theaters. It's nice to kind of just have a smaller scale, more local issue. Like, here's another one, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I liked that because it was kind of, actually this kind of goes for all the Planet of the Apes movies, of the new ones. It's not a world-ending event most of the time. It's more just like we're looking at these people in a local situation, which I liked. And and that's very much the situation here. You know, it's a very tame movie, Hitman. It's more, I really like how slow some of the scenes are, that it's more just getting to know our characters, which in an hour and 55-minute movie can be difficult. It can be hard to, how do we explain who these people are and what they're fighting for, what they believe in, what are they good at, what are they bad at, and their character dynamics and how they treat other people, and what are their goals in this story, where do they fit in an hour 55 minutes. It takes a very skilled filmmaker like Richard Linklater to do that, and I think we're seeing a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of good movies this year that have been quite short. Like, again, The Fall Guy was 2 hours, Love Lies Bleeding was 2 hours and 10 minutes, I want to say. Like, and I think 2 hours is a very good movie length for me. I think 2 hours is like perfect. I don't mind longer movies at all. Like, I will watch a 3-hour movie, no problem at all. I watched Killers of the Flower Moon and I had no issue. I thought the pacing was absolutely great. The Batman, like literally my favorite movie, is 2 hours and 47 minutes. The hour 55-minute runtime for this is really great, and it's a very tame movie, and I think it's paced okay. Like, I think I'll get into it in a second, but I think the start is maybe a little bit slow, but I just like that this movie wasn't all action and wasn't just like over CGI car chases or fights or gunfights and stuff. It's a lot of more personal scenes, which I enjoyed, and it's a lot more dialogue driven conflict, which is great. Yeah, I think these kind of comedies are just important. We need kind of smaller, low-budget comedies like this, like a Bottoms, you know, a Please Don't Destroy. But I think Hitman is such a great one, and the fact that it's, you know, it's going to Netflix now is kind of a bummer, because I think Netflix are just scumbags and make some of the worst stuff. And I wish it maybe had a longer theatrical run and more of a drive about the fact that it's in theaters. Go see it in theaters and then watch it again at home. But obviously they need people to watch it at home, because that's how they make money. But I think this is great. It's just like, variety is the spice of life, as they say, and having an option like this, here's a 2-hour action comedy movie. It doesn't have an established universe. It's not a franchise. It's not a recognizable IP. This is a great movie for date night, or, you know, going, if you're mature enough, going with your parents. This is a good, like, fun movie to see with your family or your friends or whoever. It's just a very funny movie. I think this is going to do remarkably well on streaming. It has a recognizable face in it who's kind of everywhere right now, Glenn Powell, but not like too much that it's overbearing. Like, okay, we've seen enough of him. But I think this is going to do very well on streaming, and in fact, I will watch it again on streaming 100%. And, people complain there's no more original ideas in theaters, or, why would I go to the movies when it's all franchises? Okay, well, you didn't see Love Lies Bleeding, you didn't see Challengers, and now you're not going to watch Hitman, and you're not going to watch The Bike Riders, you're not going to watch Kinds of Kindness. There's just no winning with some people, that they get all of these options, that we do have great franchise films coming out, like a Dune Part 2 or Furiosa, that are kind of bringing new stories from recognized worlds, but we also have great original movies, and yet it's still not good for them, and they still make excuses why they don't want to go to the theaters, and why would I watch that? It's like, okay, well, so what do you want at the theaters? Having said that, like I said last week, theaters are extremely expensive, and until we get cheaper ticket prices, I absolutely agree that some people, why they would not go. Here's something that's kind of a little bit of a complaint. I thought the film started a little bit slow. It kind of introduces you to the premise, but I feel like the first kind of laughs don't hit that crazy hard, but they're still like good, and you're kind of getting to know the world, and there's like the use of a voiceover, which at first, I don't know how I always feel about that in movies. Like, I don't know. It depends how it's used, but at first it took a little second for me to kind of find my bearings in this film. It's not that it's overwhelming. It's just there's not tons happening, but it is still entertaining. So that's like kind of my only complaint, is that the pacing at the start was, I don't know, not mind-blowing, or it didn't open in a super crazy exciting way, but it does open in a fun way with Gary. So it is what it is, but perhaps it takes a little bit too much time getting to know Gary. So overall, would I recommend this? Should people go home and watch Hitman, I guess, because it's not in theaters anymore? 100%. I think this is a film that like 95% of people would enjoy. What do you want? You want under 2 hours? Boom, tick. You want recognizable actors and performers that you like? Boom, tick. You have Glenn Powell, who I don't see anybody that's hating him. Mr. Capybara, as they call him on Twitter. You want comedy, action, and romance? Tick, tick, tick. This movie, it really does check all of the boxes. You want something that maybe your whole family or your friends can watch, that you don't need to see 40 other movies to understand which timeline does this film fit into. Sorry, I don't know why I'm making fun of Marvel or like comic book fans. It's great. It's just a nice standalone film you can watch by yourself. Go enjoy it. It's on Netflix. I feel like if anybody has a streaming service, it's gonna be Netflix. That's probably the most popular one, I would say. I'd absolutely watch it again. I think I will watch it again, in fact, because I did find it extremely funny, kind of heartfelt. It's a good, it's the rom-com that we need to start the summer. It's just it's good vibes. I gave it 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Really enjoy it. Go check it out. And now we are going to get into spoilers. So if you don't want to know any spoilers, get out of here. Skip ahead to the what else I watched this week, because I have lots of stuff to talk about in there, including some films and a video game and a book and a YouTube video that I have checked out this week. So skip spoilers. This has been your warning. Okay, let's talk spoilers. So Gary tells Madison that he's not going to go through with the hit on her husband, because that's how they meet. She wants to hire him, as it's shown in the trailer, because her husband's like a scumbag and they really hate each other. And Gary is playing this new disguise named Ron, who's basically just a confident, better dressed version of himself. And that's why like everybody likes Ron, because he's like, oh, you're like Gary but fun and confident. And it's funny. Gary kind of takes offense to that, but I really loved kind of their first interaction and how the character of Ron evolves in the story. Like at first it's like he discovers a superpower, the power of confidence and like humor and eye contact and just being charming and getting out of your comfort zone and kind of getting out of your own way. It's great. You know, I feel like we all know a billion Gary Johnsons in our life. I feel like Gary, some aspects of him really resonated with me, a kind of a creature of habit, someone that likes to do kind of boring things, and I'm very much a homebody, but he kind of gets out of his own way and a new version of him comes out, and then he meets Madison and they just have like a great instant connection. And that scene was just, electric. I just thought, wow, the chemistry is so great in this. And I really loved it. And another relationship that I actually enjoyed from Gary was his relationship with his ex-wife. So there's this one scene where she comes to visit him at work, and they kind of talk about like, oh, what's new with each other. And it was just nice to see a divorced couple on screen that actually seem like best friends. And they even say that, like, we're always going to be best friends. And, they just really care about each other. And they were married. I guess they got married young and they got divorced. And it's a really great scene, because she really does just highlight all of Gary's flaws, but in a very respectful and loving way, like telling him, you need to get out of your own way. You don't do anything exciting in your life. Like, go and meet someone and stop being so picky and just open yourself up. And it is a very clear indicator that from the start, it's a very early scene in the film that Gary very much is his own worst enemy. And I maybe wish there was more of that in the film. I honestly could have taken a couple of more scenes with his ex-wife, because she was just a very nice character to have to showing that Gary is, although he's very flawed and kind of boring and people criticize him a lot, he is still a very nice person and he's very loved, and he has a very just interesting relationship that I feel like you don't see a lot in films. A nice relationship with a ex-wife or an ex-husband or an ex-partner. What I really loved as well is Madison falls in love with Gary, partially also I think because he is this this dangerous, outrageous guy, and there's something really sexy and cool about that. Of course, like he's a bad boy. And they talk about killing, and Gary's never killed anyone in his life or seen anyone be killed, so he has no clue, but he actually has studied all of like the proper ways or the cleanest ways of killing people. Like there's one scene where he tells the person in the first hit he's doing, or the first quote hit he's doing, he tells him exactly what he's going to do with the body, and like all of his coworkers that are listening in on the wire are super creeped out, like, Gary, what the hell was that? And yeah, it's just like they're in the bath together and he tells her exactly how to do it. How he explains to kill someone in a clean way is exactly how, dun dun dun, she kills her husband in the exact same way, and she doesn't tell him that she did it. He just finds out like, oh yeah, that client that you had a while back, well, she actually killed her husband, we think, and her husband was found dead, so we need to go interview her and ask her questions. And Gary asks him like, oh, how's it done? And it's just such a funny scene where they explain to him how he died, and it's the exact way that he explained to Madison how to kill someone, and Gary's look of horror horror is just like, what have I done? It's really great. That's where some of the best comedy comes from in this movie, is just Glenn Powell digging his own grave in this film. And it's very enjoyable. I seriously loved all that. And like, some of my favorite stuff from this film really just comes after all the shit hits the fan, to say, because Gary goes back, he's still playing Ron, but he goes back to talk to Madison, and he asks her about it, like, hey, what the hell? They found your husband, and Gary had been seen by Jasper out with Madison, and he recognizes her as the client, and he's like, oh, so you're going out with clients? Oh, it's all good. And it's kind of their little secret. And then, once she kills her husband and she's a main suspect, then it kind of gets a little complicated in the story, and that's where the conflict of this story comes from, which I really love, that he's getting involved with his client. When they first meet, he can tell something about her. He's like, you don't want to do this. And it's the only time that he's ever turned someone away doing this. He said, like, I'm not going to do this for you. You very clearly don't want to do this. Just go home, get your own place. You just got a divorce. I don't think killing him is going to be the answer. It's really great, And then even before she kills him, the husband tries to hire Gary as the hitman, and he runs away. He gets spooked because Gary reveals, like, oh, hey, remember me from when we met? It's really awesome. There's so many complicated loops. And again, that goes back to just the great script that this film has. And it's a great story with, I think it's the perfect amount of twists. Not too many twists, not little enough that I don't really care after it. It's like, oh, there was a very good twist in this film. Very much enjoyed it. Exactly the right amount of twistiness in this film. And, everybody's looking for the mysterious boyfriend suspect of Madison, who is Gary, and Jasper's the only one. Like, every scene just packs a really great punch to it, has such good intensity, but also there's humor in every scene. It's just a joy to watch this mess unravel, and Gary having to figure it out after he's messed up so badly and continues to mess up. And I really loved as well the climactic scene with Jasper. So one day Gary goes as Ron to Madison's house, and he just keeps typing in the notes app on his phone because he has a wire on. So he'll say stuff as Ron, and the people from the police think that he's still working as a cop and not trying to help her, and they're not involved because none of the cops know that these two are involved. So he's writing on his notes app telling her, like, they know you need to play dumb, act like you haven't seen your husband in blah 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 forever and stuff. And it's just I think that's a really great scene from Glenn Powell in particular. He shows a lot of power and like intelligence in that scene as his character, and I like that he's not just like a bumbling buffoon in this comedy. Like, yes, he's making mistakes, but he's still a very smart and well-knowledged person, and he's just got himself lost in this situation because of his feelings for someone. So I thought it's just really well written, the character of Gary, and I just really love that, and the climactic scene, as I said, Jasper knows that Gary has been going out with Madison, and Jasper shows up to her house because he thinks that she's killed him, the husband. And then Ron goes independently and says, I gotta go to Madison's house. So he goes there, and then when he walks in, Jasper's inside with Madison, and it's clearly like a questioning, interrogation type vibes. Ron or / Gary and Madison are trying to figure out, what the hell are we gonna do? He's very much onto us. He knows, and he just wants money from her because she has an insurance life policy on her ex-husband. And it's just a great, intense, climactic scene that I wasn't really sure which way is this going to go. Are they just going to straight up murder him? Are they going to just give him the money and run away? Like, it's very nice possible endings that could happen. And instead, Jasper wants another beer, and Gary's like, oh, I'll go get it. And then Madison's like, no, I'll get the beer. And she poisons him and knocks him out. And while he's knocked out, they're like, okay, we got to figure out what the hell we're going to do. That's when they say, they love each other. We're in this for the long run. And it's just a really cute twist together. So Gary's first kill, he ties a bag over Jasper's head. Gary's first kill was kind of a shared kill with Madison. And it's like an oddly romantic moment that I really enjoyed. So it's just a very cute ending. This is just a really great rom-com. There's lots of funny lines. There's classic lines like all pie is good pie, which is the code line that Gary said to Madison when she came to the diner when they first met to know, are you the hitman? She's like, oh, that looks like good pie. Or is that pie good? And he's like, all pie is good pie. And it's just it's a funny line. There's lots of good lines in this that I really enjoyed. Again, his character, he plays like a clear Republican Trump supporter. He plays this Russian hitman. He plays, I don't even know, this like British kind of Willy Wonka looking guy. It's just really fun how he caters these characters to all of his different people that he's investigating. And there's even good courtroom scenes with him. So I just really enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, especially after things went crazy. And I would highly recommend this. And here's a couple Letterboxd reviews that I thought were funny, that I just felt like reading, or that I thought were insightful. The first one from Jay, 3 stars, basically the quote, removing girls' glasses to reveal she's hot trope, but with Glenn Powell. Yeah, like I said, I kind of thought that when I was walking to the theater, like, oh, they had a tough time making Glenn Powell unattractive. It's like the Helen Mirren voiceover in Barbie. Like, note to casting directors, don't cast Margot Robbie if you want an ugly main character or whatever. Just really funny, you know? Then we have Drew, 4.5 stars. Proof that the right jacket can make you so fucking sexy and a little evil. Yeah, like I said, like what I love about Ron versus Gary is they're the same person. It's just that Ron is someone who's willing to put in an effort and like be confident and be charismatic, whereas Gary is very kind of, he's insulated, he's kind of stuck in his own way, creature of habit, which I feel like we all know people in our lives that are like that. I mean, I think I'm like that. I very much get in my own way sometimes. But here's another one by Hung Cat. Hitman, 3 stars. Essentially a movie about finding someone that matches your freak. Yeah, like I said, the chemistry just seriously phenomenal between our 2 main leads. I think this is just, they do such a great job of with the characters of Gary and Madison. I thought the 2 of them were just so fantastic, the 2 leads in this story, and I would honestly I think they have a better chemistry, these 2, than maybe Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. I don't know, that's tough, because Anyone But You was a good movie. Yeah, that's tough. But I don't want to be hyperbolic. They were very good, you know? So that's been Hitman. I would totally recommend this. I think it's a fun kind of family movie, or maybe a mature family movie. I would totally recommend everybody check it out. It's on Netflix, 1 hour and 55 minutes. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm totally going to watch it again, maybe with my parents. Seriously loved it. Cannot recommend it enough. But let's go and talk about what else I watched. So I watched 2 movies this week. I finished a book, I watched a nice long YouTube video, and I played a good chunk of a video game. So let me start with, I watched The First Omen on Disney Plus, which I think I talked about a bit last week that I was going to watch it. Absolutely terrifying. It's very gory, and they show a scene where someone's giving birth, and I've never seen that before. So, you know, like, childbirth is a beautiful part of life and having a baby, but oh my God, that was really terrifying to see. So I empathize with everyone that will ever give birth in their life, because oh my God, that was one of the scariest things, and I was actually a little shook after I watched it. But a very good horror movie. It was actually very scary, a very interesting premise. Churches are creepy naturally to me, so this was a very fun movie. I think Italy is a cool background for this film, and I'm very interested to go and watch the other Omen movies, because this is a prequel. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. Very much enjoyed it. I would recommend it if you're okay with gore. I honestly had to look away a few times because there's a childbirth, there's a C-section, there's also just some other gory parts that I was like, oh, I can't watch this, because I just don't do well with like people being cut or like blood seeping out of people after they've been cut open. And I try to tough it out, and I try to say it's fake, don't look, like, don't freak out, it's fake, it's for a movie, it's not real. But it's just so believable, the effects, that it's difficult not to. I also watched on Netflix Atlas with Jennifer Lopez and Simu Liu and Sterling K. Brown. Look, Sterling K. Brown, you know, get that bag, and that way you can do other maybe smaller projects and demonstrate your amazing acting. But dear God, 1 star. It was the second worst movie I have seen this movie. It was so incredibly terrible. I could not recommend this enough. Do not watch Atlas on Netflix. It is so bad. But on the bright side, Jennifer Lopez, at least she has her music career to... Oh, what's that? They canceled her tours? Okay, never mind. Sorry, I just got notes from my producer that they actually canceled her tour, so I don't have a producer. That was a bit. In last weekend, I finished reading Dune Messiah, and let me just say, I won't give any spoilers or any context about what the plot's on. I loved it. I'm starting Children of Dune tonight, and Dune Messiah was fascinating. It is so different from Dune, the first book. It's a more conspiracy and thought-provoking, and like, what does it mean to be in power and what to do with power, and it still very much talks about free will versus fate. So I seriously loved it. If you're reading the Dune books, I'd be curious, what do people like, what's their ranking of them, because I'm going to read all 6 maybe by the end of summer, but I doubt it, because the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th are all pretty thick, like 600 plus pages like the first one was, and the first one took me 2 months to read. So you know, by the new year I'll get there. But it was really great. I really loved Dune Messiah. I like what they did with the character of Paul and Chani. It wasn't anything that I was expecting it to be. There's lots of great twists, and if I had one word to sum it up, it would be conspiracy. And I watched another very interesting, thought-provoking video by Red Letter Media this week that I thought I don't mean to just be like a promoter of Red Letter Media, but just after last week where I talked about their funny video, I thought they did a very interesting video about the death of movie theaters this weekend. I agree with like 99% of their points, but it is interesting that they don't mention Dune Part 2, which made $700 million globally, did extremely well, brought tons of people to theaters, even though it's a sequel of a sci-fi movie of a book. And the first one, like, lots of people I think didn't like people thought they were boring, and yet Dune Part 2 like had so much great reception. So I don't know, they for the most part they make very good arguments. So if you want to understand kind of the industry of movie theaters and where we're at right now, I would highly recommend Red Letter Media, The Death of Movie Theaters. And finally, a video game. I'm going to talk about a video game for the first time. Spider-Man 2 for PS5. I'm seriously loving it with the symbiote. How did I say it earlier in the show? I can't remember. Really fun, and I like that you get to play as Miles and Peter, and it's a cool story that I'm really enjoying. I've been looking for a new game recently because I played so much Chivalry 2 earlier in the year that I'm seriously sick of it. EAFC is just boring. Like, since, I don't know, FIFA hasn't been good in a couple of years. Battlefield I play a lot, but it's not new. There haven't been upgrades. Call of Duty is really fun. It's just like I don't want to just play sport or shooter games. I want a story to play, and the campaign for Modern Warfare 3 is extremely short. So I splurged last weekend. I hate that word. I got Spider-Man 2 on PS5 for like $30 off. I got the digital deluxe version. The suits look awesome. I would highly recommend it if you have a PlayStation 5. The Spider-Man games on the PlayStation are all really good. Like I loved the first one so much. I seriously liked Miles Morales. That one I thought was really good as well. And this one hasn't been a letdown at all. I've actually thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, so that's what else I watched. I've been missing Survivor, to be honest. Now it's just all rumors about what Survivor season 50 is going to be, and I'm kind of getting a bit of withdrawal, but give me recommendations of what else I should watch. I already had one from my friend that I should watch Theater Camp, which I'm going to try and squeeze in at some point. It's only like an hour and a half, but it looks really funny and has Io Debris, who I love. So definitely check that out. Maybe I'll talk about it next week, and I have a couple other movies that I'll talk about next week, but that's been what else I watched. And I think that about does it for episode 21. Hitman. I think we've done it. Another great episode, another fun episode, and a movie that I really enjoyed. I mean, it's not mind-blowing stuff, but it's just like the kind of fun variety of films that I think we do need right now. So I would highly recommend it. As always, if you can, rate and review this podcast 5 stars. Recommend it to a friend. We're available on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Acast, on all of your streaming platforms. Give it 5 stars. Share it with a friend. Let them know episodes that you liked. Subject them to my movie reviewing. We're also on YouTube. Go on there, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know every time there's new shorts or the podcast. You can also watch it on there. Like and comment all the videos. Comment what else I should watch, and have you watched Hitman? What are you looking forward to this summer? Because we do have a lot of great TV coming out, like The Bear season 3 next month. Actually this month, June 27th. You can also email the show, answer, get in touch with me. watcherofallthings@gmail.com. Let me know what you're thinking. What should we talk about on the show? What do you think of all the, random spinoffs we're getting, like The Office spinoff, Alien Romulus, which looks really good to me. What did you think? Are you a fan of Alien? Is it your favorite sci-fi? We're also on TikTok and Instagram. The TikTok page is watcher.of.allthings, and the Instagram page is watcherofallthings. Follow me on there. I post tons of stuff on social media for the podcast. We are also, I am on Letterboxd. You can follow my personal Letterboxd, which is KikiJ70. That's KIJ70. You can see all my reviews instantaneously. I do lots of lists as well. Like I have a 2024 ranked, all the X-Men movies, the Spider-Man movies, the Bond films, of the Daniel Craig Bond films. I don't know, every time I watch a franchise, I just tend to make that. And this week, I want to share a link tree with a rotating list of fundraisers for Gazans. It's really great. It's at Funds for Gaza. They have lots of great GoFundMe pages, different charities and different organizations that are just doing very great stuff that I, cannot recommend enough. There's, We Feed Gaza. There's specific family pages that people have established on GoFundMe. So go check that out. It's really great. There's tons tons of great information on there as well. And if you have any other charities, feel free to share them with me on social media. I love reading about all the great work that's being done. It's also June. I just want to say happy Pride Month to everyone. I hope you can live authentically, love yourself for who you are, and you are loved for who you are. Next week is a great episode as well. We are talking kinds of kindness and maybe the bike riders. I might save the bike riders for 2 weeks away, but Kinds of Kindness, another Yorgos Lanthimos movie. It looks very funny. It's gotten great reviews from what I've seen, so I'm going to be looking forward to that. I might watch some other Yorgos movies. Yeah, thank you all for listening once again. I hope you have a wonderful week once again and start to enjoy your summer. Get out there, people. Get in touch with nature, or I don't know. You don't have to. It's kind of hot out. It was like 35 degrees Celsius today, so I didn't really go outside. But thank you all so much for listening. Have a great week, and I will see you in the next one.